Over a decade of hunting in some of the world's most remote and untamed locations. Federal Premium Ammunition, powering your pursuit. King's Camo, the next era is here. Safari Club International Canada, first for hunters. Bushnell, purpose built. Their message of conservation and management has been shared with millions. So let's enjoy the experience before, during, and after pulling the trigger. This is Federal's Trigger Effect.
Hi folks, thanks for joining us here at Federal's Trigger Effect. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you this week. We're going to do the best and the most memorable hunts we've had from season 5 through to season 10.
Yeah, we are long overdue for this, Kent.
Yeah.
The last one we did was season 1 to 4, and that was prior to being Bushnell or Federal's Trigger Effect. But, you know, I really don't want to talk about this anymore because we have so many great adventures that we'd like to share with you. Well, Kent, if we're going to talk about memorable locations, I can't help but have the first thing jump to my mind being New Zealand. And when I think of New Zealand, I can't forget when I was filming you chasing your Pitt Island ram.
I know those rams were really something else. I mean, I got a tremendous ram while we were over there. They are so similar to the North American sheep species in how they like their open country. They use their eyes for their defense mechanism, and they are a challenging animal to hunt. It is beautiful country that we hunt these things in, and I'm telling you, I couldn't be happier. That was an absolutely stunning old warrior of a ram, all gnarled up, beat up, and I had a great time. That was a lot of fun.
Well, and I got to admit, you made one heck of a shot because that was a big distance on that ram.
Yeah, they were challenging to get close to, that's for sure. A couple other species that are really cool and are really well known for New Zealand are the red stag and the fallow deer, and you took 2 tremendous trophies there.
But mine played out kind of interesting because if you remember that morning, we were going up to a height of land to kind of glass some hillside for red stag. Eric, our guide, right away spotted my stag, and he was like, that's the one we need to go after. So we started to make our approach. We're going down this hog's back, and then all of a sudden one of the other guides, I think it was Skippy, he looked over and he says, wow, there's a big fallow deer bedded over there. But of course Eric's mind was set on the red stag. So he says, we know where it is, we'll leave it, let's go after the red stag. And so we drive the buggies down, we park them. You start chasing me and I'm chasing Eric, and we get up and he gets us into a perfect position, and I shoot across that ravine and the stag goes down.
Yeah, it was a beautiful shot.
And then of course on TV it looks like we went to the stag right away, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Right away now, Skippy and Eric were like, we gotta go back and get the fallow deer. So off we go again. We race up, they get us above the ridge, and thankfully that fallow deer did stay bedded, but then he got up and started working down.
Yeah.
And Eric basically said, this is our one opportunity. And I'll never forget, because it was straight down the hill, and I'm trying to get set up with the gun on the shooting sticks, and then I shoot and boom, the fallow deer goes down.
Yeah, you did 2 great shots on both those animals.
And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, the fallow deer's down. So now we need to go back and get the red stag. And I'll tell you, Kent, when I walked up on that red stag and I saw how big it was, it's hard to express to people how big the animals are in real life. Because on TV they look big, but when you get up to them, they're massive. And I remember one of my most favorable moments was carrying the cape and the rack down the hillside, and I barely got over the exhilaration of that. And then we go and we retrieve my fallow deer, and literally that is probably one of my most memorable days out of all 10 seasons. Was just being able to harvest those 2 trophies.
Eric took us up into that real high country bowl. I remember it was a really steep, snow-covered bowl. We got up there most of the way with the buggies, but then we had to hike the last little bit. And as soon as we topped over that edge, Eric said there's some tar on the far side there, and he says that one looks like a good bull. So we made a couple little sneaks, got to a rock. It was a precarious shot. I had to use the pack and a couple stones and get steadied on it, and it was a long shot. It was about 300 yards. I made a couple good shots and was able to actually harvest a really nice tar. It was actually better than we thought. From that distance, we couldn't really tell how big he was. We knew he was mature, but we didn't know how big he was, and he was actually a really, really nice tar.
Well, and I have to admit, Ken, out of all the footage we shot, my favorite shot was when you had your tar cape and the head over your shoulders and you were walking away. And, and it was just that sea of clouds. Yeah,
we were above the clouds. We were in the mountain peaks above the clouds, and you couldn't see any of the valley bottoms. It just looked like we were going into the abyss. It was really, really cool. I mean, New Zealand is a magical place to begin with, and to be able to hunt there and collect these animals is just, it's a blessing.
Well, that's our memorable moments for New Zealand, but when we come back after this message, we're going to be talking about one of our other favorite places, Africa.
Federal Premium Ammunition, powering your pursuit. Whatever you hunt, however you shoot, Federal has you covered, with the best ammunition options in every category.
Welcome back, folks. And as Dean had mentioned earlier, we are going to the dark continent of South Africa. It is one of our favorite places to hunt. There are so many great species there. One that has been very, very memorable to me, which I've wanted for a very long time, is the gemsbuck. We were hunting with Royal Karoo in the East Cape of South Africa. They offered me the chance to go after gemsbuck, and I was just tickled inside. I couldn't believe it. And we went, we saw one the very first day we were there, but it was a long distance away. And then we ended up finding a group, and we hunted them. And it was an all-day hunt. It was a big pursuit. I tell you what, the animals in Africa, they're not easy to knock down, and they're pretty tricky, some of them. And these gemsbuck were a true challenge. We had to wait them out. Finally, we got kind of parallel alongside those gemsbuck. We knew which way they were kind of traveling, and we caught up ahead, got up on a ridge, and they come out of this draw. And boy, I tell you, when I saw that beautiful gray animal with the dark markings on the face come out, I almost got buck fever, but I was lucky enough to calm myself down, made a great shot, and I have probably one of my most iconic and memorable animals from Africa on the ground, and I was so happy, just tickled pink.
I was just jealous.
Well, you might be jealous about the gemsbuck, but I'm jealous of your black wildebeest.
I totally agree, and you know, I was excited for two ways, because as you know, in our one trip that we went to South Africa with Select Safaris, I got my blue wildebeest.
Yes.
All of a sudden now I was like, oh, like I really want to get its cousin, the black wildebeest. So I remember we were sitting there, we were driving, and then all of a sudden Drew looked out and saw a herd of black wildebeest. And we got out right away, we made the stalk. I just remember it was so hot that day, and we're in the wide open, and he got a perfect stalk on them where they were probably about maybe 150, 200 yards away. But we were amongst all of these aloe plant, and I just remember you were having a heck of a time trying to get on them.
There were such small windows to actually see them. For you to shoot and me to film out of the same window was difficult.
No, it was. And then finally, Drew's like, take it. Kent finally says, take it. And I'm looking, and I've got like one of the strongest quartering away shots I've ever seen. And
I'm
just like, well, I got both of them telling me to take it. I lined up, and thank heavens I was able to feather it through. We put a bit of a stalk on it, but it didn't go any more than 200-300 yards. It laid under a tree. I had that black wildebeest, and I just remember when I walked up on it, put my hands on it. It's like you say with the gemsbuck, it's just boom, it's in your mind.
You did a great shot. I mean, that was a difficult angling shot. Africa itself is such a magical place. Culture there, the people, the food, the trackers alone are inspiring.
You know, we think we have a hunting culture in North America, but they have a hunting lifestyle. Like from the moment you step off the plane to the moment you step back onto the plane, you know, you're immersed in a hunting experience. And I think that was the thing that was most memorable. Your entire day, whether it's in the lodge, having dinner, or out in the field, is all about hunting.
Yeah, sitting around the lapa in the evenings, eating the game meat. We want to put together a montage of some clips of the animals that we took in our 2 trips to South Africa. Hope you enjoy this. Sit back, relax, and take a look at some fantastic animals.
Stay tuned for more Federal's Trigger Effect. King's Camo. The next era is here. The XK7 pattern exclusively available for the XKG series.
Welcome back, folks, and boy, that montage was something else. But we're gonna head to South America to a couple hunts that we did in Argentina. And you know, I was the same as you, Kent. When we first went down to Argentina, we were kind of like, wow, this is all about like doves and pigeons. But they have some amazing big game hunting.
They do. I mean, the wing shooting down there is second to none. But their big game hunting is so underrated. They have some fantastic animals. A couple of my favorites are black buck and axis deer. Now, I was lucky enough to take a couple black buck on our 2 trips, 1 each trip, and they are tough little critters. They are very similar to our North American antelope. Boy, I tell you, they've got a safety zone that's a lot further than uncomfortable shooting. But our guide, Gustavo, was absolutely fantastic at getting us up close. I took a fantastic black buck. I mean, I couldn't be happier. They're such a stunning animal. The bucks are that dark black color, and boy, a tough little critter to put to the ground. Made a couple good shots and got them done. And the other animal, the axis deer, what a stunning critter. I mean, that dark brown with the speckled spots on it and sweeping antlers, just amazing animal. Now, the axis deer I shot was in some pretty thick cover, but we were lucky enough, our guide got us ahead of them. We could hear them coming, and he crossed a little clearing for me, gave me just enough window to make a good shot, and we were pretty happy to walk up on that one. I mean, those are 2 animals from Argentina that I think are probably my most memorable. Well, even though the black buck and the axis deer are stunning animals and great game species to hunt in Argentina, you, on the other hand, had the chance and were very lucky at getting a tremendous old Dugga boy.
Yeah, I know. When I first went to Argentina, I got to watch you take down an Asiatic water buffalo, and I know the first thing that came to my head is, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
And what was great about it is our good friend Gustavo invited us down again, and I was graciously offered the opportunity to chase one. And I remember the one thing you were saying to me was the adrenaline rush of an animal that big, and I don't think I've ever had as big of an adrenaline rush when I was, you know, close up and shooting my water buffalo. It was just really hard to explain, and they're tough. You know, somebody tells me that they can take a water buffalo down in one shot, my first thing would be, were you using an RPG?
Yeah, and where were you hunting this thing?
And where were you hunting it? Because I know I placed, 2 or 3 good shots before it finally went down, and any of those shots would have dropped the moose.
Oh, for sure, and they're dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. Like I remember, sneaking up both on yours after the shot and mine. Your heart's right here, but I couldn't be happier. And another one, like, it's funny, like the water buffalo in Argentina, although they stay near water, it's not the same as where they're indigenous from, where there's lots of water and they live in it.
Yeah.
But one of the ones in Argentina that I did get to hunt that lived in the water, and it was something I never thought I would hunt, is capybara.
Yes.
And they are such a cool little critter. They have a really uniqueness to the hunt as well too.
Yeah.
And as a biologist, I think it was probably one of my favorite animals to actually walk up to and get my hands on.
Yep.
Because it's like a Canadian beaver on steroids.
Well, they are the world's largest rodent, and they're big.
They're huge. I couldn't believe how big they were, but it was a very memorable moment because it's not something I ever would have thought of hunting. But, the chance of us going out and actually hunting them were great. And the one thing we learned from it is they actually have some medicinal purposes that the Argentinians use for them.
Yep.
And I didn't know that. But yeah, it was a memory of a lifetime. We both shot some great capybara. And that's, one of the things, if I ever went back again, I'd love to do it again.
Oh, you bet. I mean, they're such a cool critter living in that jungle and next to the water, and the way they call to each other.
Yes.
That was really, really cool. And I mean, it was a fantastic hunt. It's
great.
one of those things that you just never forget.
Join Kent and Dean after these messages from our sponsors. Safari Club International Canada. First for hunters. Taxidermy services for Federal's Trigger Effect is provided by Hunters Union and Ray Wiens Taxidermy.
Now we're going to move to some of our memorable hunts right here at home, here in North America. And I have to say, one of my bucket list species that I've wanted to take since I was small, I've wanted to kill a buffalo with archery equipment. And I got the great chance to do that with Kelly Reedman. It has to be probably one of my top hunts that we've done in the 10 years of producing this show. It was a challenge. When they're in a herd like that, you've got all those eyes, all those ears, but boy, when they want to get out of the country, they can move. The way the hunt played out, we were hunting them in these coulees. We got up through the end of this draw and the buffalo were there, but we thought they had left. And just as we topped up, Kelly said, there's a cow buffalo right here. We step up and there's the bull that I was after right there, 32 yards. I made that shot and I'll never forget the flight of that arrow, hitting him in the sweet spot. Walking up on a beast that big, until you experience it, it's hard to explain. Like, it really is hard to explain what that feeling is. To this day, that'll be probably one of my top hunts ever.
When you sent me the pictures, it made you look small.
I was fortunate enough to check that one off my bucket list, that's for sure. But you also had a great hunt over there too with Kelly.
Yes, I did. I mean, being a BC boy, I've hunted elk ever since I was little. Saskatchewan is very well known for big elk. And when Kelly gave me the opportunity to say, hey, why don't we go chase some bulls?
Yep.
I was there. I remember when we first arrived, we got to the beautiful lodge he has, and we could hear the bulls screaming. We had to hunt hard, and finally when Kelly spotted the bull from a distance, we had to do a stalk up on it.
Yep.
And I'll never forget that bull when it cleared those aspens and it kind of came out into the open. I was waiting for it to give me a nice broadside shot, but I remember when I walked up on that elk, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's my biggest elk I've ever shot, and I can't thank Kelly enough for that amazing experience.
I mean, one of the other hunts that we like to do here in North America is our bear hunts.
Yeah.
And a year ago, I was fortunate enough to take another trophy of a lifetime.
Oh.
Like, you hear that a lot, but this truly is the biggest bear I will ever shoot.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful color phase. We were hunting with Muskeg Country Outfitters. He sent me a trail camera picture of this big color phase, and I told him that was a mistake because now that's all I want. But we put in our time. We sat in that stand for quite a few days. But when he came in, I didn't waste any time. I knew you were fast on the camera. I wasn't going to give him the opportunity to make up his mind to leave. As soon as he cleared those willows, I let him have it. To anchor a bear that size, 615 pounds, I will never top that bear.
No.
That is actually a bear of a lifetime.
To see an animal of that caliber is unbelievable.
It's surprising.
So let's just head to a little bit of a montage on some of the other species that we've harvested. Well, folks, there you go. Seasons 5 to 10. Boy, I'll tell you, it's pretty difficult squeezing 6 seasons into a 22-minute show, but hopefully we did a good job.
Yeah, I think we did. We want to thank the outfitters that help us out on these hunts. We want to thank our sponsors that make all this happen. And we want to thank you, the viewers, for joining us these past 10 seasons. And make sure you come back for more Federal's Trigger Effect.
This has been a Thunder Boys production.